All right, afternoon.
Hey
Or
Taylor, my name's
where it is.
Rob.
Hi, Rob.
How are you?
I'm good.
That's good, good, good. Obviously, welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Whereabouts are you at the moment?
I'm actually in Los Angeles right now.
Oh, cool, excellent. Are you a morning or a night person?
Well, it kind of just depends on what I'm doing. I'm definitely creative at night, but more and more I'm up. In order to beat the day, I'm up in the mornings early.
Oh,
So,
cool.
so I
So how?
guess kind of
Sorry.
too much up, not enough rest.
Well, obviously, you might have gotten a bit of rest over lockdown, but you've been working on the new album. Did you pick up any new hobbies or even bad habits over lockdown?
Um, honestly, no, thankfully, no bad habits that I can think of. I mean, we all probably drank a little too much, but but um, mostly that was manageable. And um, I think actually kind of got into focus on certain things. Had to handle kind of face some things that were lingering. You can't avoid all of a sudden because you're just stationary. I think that's probably true of a lot of different people that some things were exposed. Just kind of, hey, I'm going to clean that garage out. I'm going to deal with that relationship issue. Whatever the thing is that's hanging around. But from the music point of view, we tried to be productive despite a lot of limitations, and we technically between the beginning of this strange thing the whole world has experienced, um, we've finished two albums and put them out. So fairly productive.
Well, Hanson's albums have actually always been a blend of talent, great music and storytelling. The Red, Green, and Blue album just seems to kind of strip it all down, and we get to hear the three distinct personalities of you guys. But it still has a familiarity and the essence of the Hanson sound. Was it
For
a
sure.
was it a refreshing take putting an album like this together for you guys?
Yeah, it was it was let's just say it sounds like it was needed. um I think it was refreshing in some respects because I think it allowed for everyone to just stretch different muscles. um I think the best thing about it really was the collaboration with Jim Scott and Davi Garza. I mean, those are two people that we collaborated with, co-produced the album with, both exceptionally experienced in their what they do. We've known them both for more than 2 decades and had never actually made an album together. So that was kind of amazing. And yeah, it definitely the project really brings into focus. You know, here's kind of three creative voices, and everybody treated that differently. Everybody used the opportunity differently. In my case, I the craftsmanship of arranging vocals, arranging the band, kind of building arrangements around what makes each of us tick. Like that's something that has been a big part of the way I've approached our records. And in this case, I thought, well, if this is going to be different, I am going to do a little less harmony. Keep it simpler. Sort of make sure to utilize this actually being kind of different. And so you'll hear on kind of the red portion of the record, it's not there's not as much gospel, there's not as much R&B. There's more a guitar and a voice, a piano and a voice, kind of a little more personal.
Oh, fantastic! Now,
Yeah.
for many fans, Hanson was actually their first live concert experience. Do
Yeah.
you remember your first concert?
Yeah, I think my very first real concert series was probably a local band in our hometown, um, that was kind of they had a following, so they would pack out little clubs and bars, and we were too young to probably legally be there, but we came in, and it was a band called the Melodramatic Wallflowers,
Oh
not to be
wow!
confused with the Wallflowers, but just a true kind of melodic pop, kind of hippie. um, guitar band in the early 90s. And there were others. I mean, the Beach Boys was an very early concert when they were, they've never stopped touring. Now we've played concerts with the Beach Boys, which is wild. And we've guested with them. And so there's, that comes full circle. Um, and gosh, I mean, we were interested in live music from a very early age, but I don't know, those two jump out.
Oh, awesome. The Beach Boys thing is great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, you've obviously got major fans all over the world. Um, Pretty much all of them have stuck with you since the middle of nowhere days. Is there anything that still surprises you about your fans and the reception that you receive from them?
Oh man, I mean, there's a lot of details that are probably genuine surprise, but it's hard to explain the ones that are super personal. Um, I think overall, I'm just really in awe of the fact that we do still have kind of a relationship with so many. I mean, people feel connected. They feel connected to each other. I think a lot of fans that discovered the band and then got excited about a show and then became a real hardcore fan and came to a tour. Like a lot of them forged relationships with one another, and I think it really just blows me away how many times you hear kind of really cool stories of people's lives kind of being intermingled with being a fan, and how that's been hopefully a positive thing. Um, and that's kind of a general statement, but just the connectivity of music in people's lives and the ability to join people kind of on their journey. That kind of, it still blows me away. And one of the things we talk about is with songs. I feel like songs are uniquely made personal for people. And of course, movies. I love movies. I love fine art. I love photography. I love all those creative arts. They're all powerful. But music is really personal. People make it their own, and I think it blows my mind how you sort of give away your song, and somebody then goes, "No, that's my song." That's going to be my song. It's my story, and I understand how that feels. I was talking with a friend that I work with. We were just going on and on about the Billy Joel's last studio album, River of Dreams. That was released 20 plus years ago, and think like, no, Blonde Over Blue, Great Wall of China, River of Dreams, like all these songs, and they're just embedded into your experience. And so I'm just grateful that we've gotten to be like that for a lot of people in our own way.
Yeah, we were chatting to our viewers and listeners in the lead up to this interview to kind of suss if there's any questions they'd want to ask and everything. We came across a Maddie who's actually going to be flying all the way to Orlando to see you guys perform at Epcot later this year. Is there any? What's the wildest thing a fan's done to meet you guys?
Gosh, what is the wildest thing that's done to meet us? I mean, there's wild as in like not so good wild, like like fly half around the world and then show up in your hotel room and you're not expecting that, and it's kind of frightening. We've had that happen more than once, and not recommended. Kind of terrifying, actually. Imagining coming into your hotel room in Latin America and you're already ready to go to lay down and outspring somebody. But I would say that early on, we made a choice to really tour, not just to do promo, not just to do radio interviews and really do a proper tour in the U.S. After we'd first broken out, and we weren't able to take that tour everywhere, but I distinctly remember. I mean, it's a standout. Australian fans that would take that trip, and we just thought, gosh, that's such a huge leap to get on a plane, go all the way across the world, and wait in line for a day to get a ticket, and then because even online tickets were harder. That stuff was so much. You had to go to a ticket office and buy a ticket and wait for it. So I'm not a very specific one's not jumping up to mind, but I mean, absolutely, we've seen people go great lengths travel great distances. Um, and now one of the coolest things we've seen is you see people actually with a parent, a child, and even a grandchild, come to a show at once where you see 3 generations. That's incredible. Our fans, our fans, or maybe an original fan with their parents and then their own child, like that blows me away. That there they are, all sharing a concert experience.
Fantastic. Now, obviously, you're going to be touring later this year around November in Australia and New Zealand. It's probably a standard question, but what artist or what Australian artist would you really want to collaborate with?
Oh man, gosh, there's so many possibilities. I mean, artists. I have to go back to. I mean, it's not necessarily taking advantage of the great question of Australian artists, but the artists that jump to mind are the ones that were the ones that I really kind of idolized. I wish were still an opportunity to work with. Hearing Ray Charles, hearing that voice, that a lot of artists that we've lost. Those are the ones that I go, wow, that is still so. I wish I would have, had the opportunity to just sit in the room with, with Michael Jackson, or with, the guys that made us want to play and sing. Not that that's a common thing, like it's likely, but I think there's just so many different incredible creative people. One thing that was actually really fun recently, last year, Australian artist Conrad Sewell reached out, and he came up to Oklahoma, and we actually wrote a couple tracks that may find their way to a new record of his. And that was a blast, actually. Super talented dude, really creative, incredible voice. And so who knows, maybe that checks the connectivity back to Australia. I think that could be great. And he's a great dude, and big congrats. He just had a new little one, and he's crossed into the dad territory.
Nice. Well, with the tour coming up, how would you describe the shows to someone that isn't traditionally a Hanson fan?
Well, I mean, so this tour this year are kind of going into 2 different areas. One, you have this new project, an album, Red, Green, Blue. You have, unique songs from this record with each guy kind of having a particular flavor. So you want to feature those songs to some degree. So definitely going to hear that. But it's also the band's 30th anniversary. I mean, we've been playing music for 30 years this year. And so, especially with that, plus the pandemic and this big gap where, we haven't really been able to tour for a couple of years, we really just want this to be a celebration. It really want to be able to express gratitude to the fans and really just celebrate. I mean, one of the coolest things that we get to do is, I think of it like hosting the party. You get to host, we're doing, I think, over 90 shows between June and the end of November. And so we get to host 90 plus parties in places all over the world. So think of it as a chance to celebrate, trying to touch on all the different records, but definitely featuring this new music and what it represents today. Our last major tour was a symphony tour. We actually arranged and built this orchestrated story. We worked with an incredible arranger and composer, David Campbell, and combined some of our older songs with new songs. And it was just an absolute massive undertaking, but it was really a joy to do. And that show was great, but it had a very specific thing. You had one show you could do. It's not like you could say, call an audible. All right, in the violin section, take a solo. So I think this tour is kind of a chance to really just a chance to let loose and celebrate and just really touch on so many songs and almost shared experiences that we've had with fans as a band.
That's brilliant. obviously touring is really hectic, and coming back to Australia and New Zealand after a big greater force break.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to do on your day off if you get one?
Oh my God. Yeah. So much, so much. Um, I think of I think of just food and I feel like the food scene, the craft beer scene, coffee scene, everything has just gotten better and better being in Australia. I mean, um, we happened to particularly spend, I'd never spent that much time in Melbourne, but last time we were there, we spent a pretty good amount of time in Melbourne and just had a phenomenal time. Always we'd spend more time in Sydney. We've been all over the country, Perth, Adelaide, Gold Coast. Um, and but that was a blast. And one of the things in Melbourne that I got to do is I picked up rowing.
Oh wow.
Years ago, actually, I picked it up. I started rowing in 2015, and I got to jump in and do some rowing with one of the rowing clubs down there, um, which was just surreal. To be halfway around the world and just jumping in. Um, so I think just soaking up the culture. I mean, we always feel very at home when we're there, and I think that's really one of the most attractive things about going to Australia. We feel like we're not that far away, even though we're pretty far away.
Well, look, it's not that long. You can fall asleep on the plane. It's
Yeah,
scary.
exactly.
All right, well, look, we're going to put all the tour dates up on the screen and also down in the comment section, depending on which platform you're on. So, look, we really look forward to welcoming you back to Australia. The concerts are incredible. They've been for all the past decades.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, can't wait to see what you guys have. The last one I actually got to photograph you guys in the pit, which was a huge experience for me, which was like,
Amazing.
yeah. And look, is there any final messages you want to give to your fans around the world?
Well, I mean, the simple message is really just thank you. I mean, we owe a great deal of thanks to the Australian fans that have stayed engaged even in times where there have been big gaps in tours, and just really can't wait to see everybody.
Well, thank you so much. We can't wait to welcome you back down under. Have an awesome evening, and we'll see when you hit the ground.
Yeah. Cheers so much, man.
Thanks, Al.
Thanks.